Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. I leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Boom! It's Turki Alalshik, or I call him the Angry Bird because he's angry right now. So is the Angry Bird afraid Tszyu beats Terence Crawford? Is that why he's refusing to work with Tszyu? Now, if you listen to the Angry Bird, he's going to sit there and say he doesn't understand. He's set in his ways. Now, my thing is this, right? I've been trying to figure out what went wrong between the Aussies and the Saudis because I'm not getting it. I'm out here ready to cheer Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi for Tszyu to fight Virgil Ortiz. That fight doesn't materialize because it's something going on with Tszyu and the injury over his head. But then somebody comes and they mention to me, they say, hey, look, the real reason Turki Alalshik is mad at Tszyu is because Tszyu pulled out of the fight with Virgil Ortiz. And as a result, it kind of deflated the Terence Crawford Marjamov fight card out there in LA. Now, initially, you know what I wanted to tell that person. I wanted to say, hey, yo, I kindly request in the most respectful way that you hold your horses and stop taking it to the stupid. However, you know, Hood Champion's all about a conversation. So I was able to get control of myself and ensured I didn't misplace my self-government. And I said, okay, shoot, go ahead, shoot. Let me hear what you got to say, shoot. And the individual said, well, this is what happened. There was nothing wrong with Tszyu. He just felt he wanted to do something different. Like go straight into a title shot. So, of course, I'm like, okay, I hear you, my man. Great for a conversation. Where are you getting this from? Because there's not one article out there. And I know a lot with everything you hear on the internet, especially social media, like Twitter and shit. You got to take it with a grain of salt because only the fly on the wall really knows what the hell goes on. None of these content creators, unless they're someone close to the source or something like that. But even them, I don't, like me, with me, I tell you, look, I'm just having a conversation. And if it's something factual, I'll tell you. But to come out here and think most of these cats is kicking knowledge and shit, I think there are some things they may mention. Other than that, it's just a fucking conversation, but they try to come off like they all knowing and shit. They're not Jesus. But anyway, I couldn't find anywhere where Tszyu just decided to pull out the fight because he wanted to pull out the fight to try to chase a title. It does sound interesting, but why would Tszyu, right, coming off being extremely active, just choose not to get back in the ring, especially if the injury he suffered as a result of fighting Sebastian Fundora, the 6'6" cockroach, right? You want to make me believe that if he had an opportunity to get back in the ring, that he's just going to pass on that to go into an inactive state and then try to return to a championship fight? That makes no sense. I'm not saying it is. I think there's like a 10% chance of that being correct, but 90% chance that it's totally flawed and just a lie. But that being said, when we talk about Turki Alalshik being afraid Tszyu beats Terence Crawford, I don't know about that. But when let's just say I'm buying into that, which I don't. But let's just say I'm buying into that, and I start looking at where are we at here, and I start looking at Tszyu, who has 24 wins, 17 knockouts. He has one loss, right? The one loss, which was a fluke. Now, what I will tell you is when it comes to Tszyu and his one loss, everyone knows I like Tszyu. And I think he gives Terence Crawford a run for his money, but Tszyu, he's tough, he's durable, he's aggressive, he has tenacity, but he just doesn't have enough layers to him, in my opinion, to get beyond Crawford. But for Tszyu, he just needs that one Russian-like, Australian-like missile right hand to get through, and he could change a fight. And Crawford, was getting hit by Madrimov, but Madrimov to me is different layers than Madrimov. But again, I think Crawford beats him. But I always said the only way Tszyu, I see him losing to these guys outside of like Crawford, right, is if something goes awry in the ring. And you could see that something did go awry. And it was when he got elbowed by a Cockroach Man. But then before that, he was about to knock him out. He had already, I think Cockroach Man's nose was hanging off of his face, wasn't it? And then if you look, even throughout the fight, Tszyu, although he had the blood kind of water falling into his eyes, because he's a bleeder, he still was putting the bing bings on Cockroach Man, and he did so well that the judges, which I think that was all bullshit, they still, I think it was split decision. So Fundora still almost lost fighting a guy who was handicapped, severely handicapped. But I said that's the only way a guy like Tszyu, in my opinion, loses to these fighters outside of the elite. Now, when you come and talk about Turki Alalshik possibly being concerned for Terence Crawford, because Terence Crawford, like Turki Alalshik, his interests are now vested in Terence Crawford. Like, I'm not saying he shifted from Tyson Fury, he shifted from Deontay Wilder, he shifted from AJ Usyk. I'm not saying that, but I tell you right now, where the central focus is right now is definitely on Omaha, Nebraska's finest, Terence Bud Crawford, Mr. Catch a Bluegill, right? That's where his attention is. But when you look at this right here, Tszyu with a 70% KO ratio, this right here, I think, is why a person would think they're worried about Tszyu. He fought Tony Harrison, KO'd Harrison, right? Then he fought Ocampo, KO'd Ocampo. Then he fought Mendoza, and it went a unanimous decision over 12 rounds. Mendoza was just a tough guy, and there were times where Mendoza probably should have just had let his corner throw the towel in. But what I'm pointing out here is, you look at those wins, March of 23, June of 23, October of 23, back to back to back to back. He came out here and was tranquilizing people, beating the shit out of people. Excuse me. And those are good fighters. Then he comes, 5 months later, he fights Fundora. And he had Fundora on the way out. So what I'm looking at here and what I'm trying to get to is there's a pattern with Tszyu. He's consistent, okay? And when he had to step up in the level of competition, you saw with every fight, Tszyu was improving. So to see that he's coming off the Fundora fight and now in an active state, some people are suggesting that that's been deliberately done by Turki Alalshik. And it's because they say, Tszyu should have been the one to get the Crawford fight. However, Turki Alalshik doesn't want that. Now, when I look at the way Tszyu's performed, and he is getting better every fight. I don't care what your opinion is of Tszyu. If you can't give that man credit for getting better every fight, well, then you should hold your horses and stop taking it to the stupid, or go out there and jump in a river, man, eating crocodiles butt naked, and let them crocodiles enjoy your bullshit, because that ain't flying over here. But I think when you look at Tszyu being consistent and in a short period of time, beating very good fighters. Tony Harrison, like, he just was glad to be in Australia, chilling, right? The other guys, they tried, but it just didn't work out. But could it be that Tszyu, his train needed to be slowed down a bit? Could it be that he was getting so much momentum, and Turki Alalshik recognized that, and that he had plans for Tszyu to fight Ortiz? And remember, it wasn't for Fundora to come in there and fight anybody with Tszyu, because they know Tszyu is the bigger draw, the bigger name than Fundora. And then all of a sudden, Turki Alalshik is really sour that for some reason Tszyu wasn't able to get on the fight card. And then he's like, you know what? It's best that we take an opportunity here and just totally derail this guy, because we know that he's still training, he's getting better, he's working out with his dad, he's continuing to try to master that Russian style of fighting, conditioning his hands, his wrists, his forearms to come in. And matter of fact, this time off could be good for his body, because it gives him an opportunity to rest and recover. And now he comes to the ring against Crawford, even more dangerous fighter than before. Now that's a whole lot of what ifs. But at the same time, that's what happens when people start reaching for straws because you don't know. Like when you don't have a definitive answer on why something happened, we can't solve for X here. I'm trying to solve for X, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't know. I don't know. So as a result, you see that your planning factors continue to change because you don't know. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the more I think about it, I'm sure Turki, Alalshik, and Crawford and everybody recognize that Tszyu is a threat. But as far as Turki, Alalshik being afraid Tszyu beats Crawford, I mean, when you look at 154, right? Who's the biggest threat to Terence Crawford? I always said Tszyu is a threat to everybody. But when you look at Madrimov, right? If Madrimov and Tszyu fought, you don't know what would happen. But I do think Madrimov was the best 154-pound fighter. It's just his style, man. But you just don't know until they get in the ring. But I kind of feel like Madrimov would give Tszyu hell because of that style. But you just don't know until you see him fight. But I wouldn't be surprised. I put it this way: I would like to see Madrimov and Tszyu fight. Because I think Tszyu is better than all those other guys. I do. And Madrimov, we already know where he stands at 154. He's a problem. And then you got Crawford. I let Crawford go on and do something different. I know they're trying to make the Ortiz fight. Crawford will tranquilize him. But I just think when I really look at it, Tszyu beats Virgil Ortiz. Madrimov and Tszyu, that's a very good fight. Very compelling fight. Very attractive fight. But really, when I start really thinking about it, I think Tszyu is a big threat to Terence Crawford. Does he beat him? I don't think he beats him. But man, I think he's a big threat. But he's gonna have to work on some of that head movement and stuff. But he's tough, man, and that right hand comes out of nowhere, and that's a kryptonite to a southpaw. But Crawford's a whole nother level. He's different. But that being said, we'll sit back and see how it all plays out. But I still. I hear everybody saying, well, this is what happened with Tim in Turkey, and this is what happened. Look, I honestly don't know. But I do know whatever's going on out there with Turki Alalshik, I think maybe Turki Alalshik may be frustrated and taking his frustrations out on Tim because you could tell, Angry Bird Turkey, he's used to getting his way. You know what I'm saying? And it's understandable. He's not used to things not working out. And when it doesn't work out, he's not all about just taking a deep breath and resetting and let's see, okay, all right, let's make a few refinements to try to improve the process here. But when it comes to these fighters and the human element and injuries and stuff like that, you don't have no control over that shit. They're fighting, so things happen. And if they get hurt and you plan on having them back in the ring in 4 months, it just doesn't work out like that. It's not a perfect world. And maybe Turki Alalshik is holding that against him. I personally don't know. But to suggest that Turki Alalshik's afraid Tszyu beats Crawford, I mean, and that's why he doesn't want to work with Tszyu. Okay, maybe he's afraid Crawford loses, but why doesn't he have Tszyu fighting someone else? You see what I'm saying? Put Tszyu in with someone else, but he doesn't even want to do that. So I don't know who it is. Is it Tszyu's team? Like, nah, we're not working with him. We don't need him. Tim's a star in Australia. Aussie, oi. We're not going to waste our time with Angry Bird. Or is it that Angry Bird is like, I want to work with you, and you're saying, no, okay, now I'm going to show you that I run shit here. And we're basically just going to ostracize you and just kind of, what's that shit? Bulwark, right? And we'll come out here and I'll make sure my resources that we establish a bulwark to where you just can't you can't penetrate it. So it is what it is, right? Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Terence Crawford, I think, and Tszyu a great fight. I'm not so sure Tszyu beats Crawford, but Tszyu versus all these other guys make for some good fights. I have to favor Tszyu. Madrimov, I don't know. Madrimov too herky jerky, but I tell you what, that would be a good damn fight. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.